Hello again everybody, back for a short video. Now, a few days ago I posted a screenshot from the French DGAC website where it said that candidates for the English exam at the DGAC in France had to be able to speak French. Now, if you were to hear that out of context, you might think it was a bit silly that somebody needing to take an English test had to be able to speak another language. But there is a certain logic behind it because 99.9% of the people who take that test are native French speakers. And sometimes when you ask people to speak English spontaneously, they don't really know what to say. So having a kind of a starting point written in the candidate's own language and asking them to translate it into English is actually quite a good way of motivating speech production. Now, I've seen this test firsthand because at the time when I did my own ELP exam for my French licence, I had to go to the DGAC centre in Orly and take the test. Because at the time it was the only way to have a level 6 added to your licence. And the test is essentially, as I mentioned in my previous article, based on translation. So you have, for example, radio messages to translate into English. You have questions in French about documents like airfield charts and things like that. And another exercise that you do is what they call the emergency phrase exercise, whereby you have 4 or 5 lines written in French on a piece of paper that you have to translate just off the top of your head. Now, coming from a translation background myself, I actually quite enjoyed the format of the exam simply because it was like a kind of an intellectual challenge and a kind of a sort of a nice linguistic exercise all round. So it got me thinking about how we can use translation as a tool to work on our vocabulary. And one thing you can do is use this emergency phrase exercise to create the most far-fetched situations you can possibly imagine with lots and lots of very obscure vocabulary, and then work on learning ways to express those particular words in English. And this is what we're going to do in this video. Okay, so first exercise. What I've done is I've got myself some ICAO certified official emergency scenarios for practicing English, written in French, and we're going to have a look and see how we are going to translate them. So let's read the first exercise as you might get it if you do the DGAC English test. So, nous avons un passager ivre à bord de l'avion. Il s'agit d'un homme d'une quarantaine d'années, vêtu d'une combinaison en lycra. Peu de temps avant le décollage, cet individu a descendu une bouteille entière de Ricard. Il est maintenant debout sur les strapontins des PNC, en train de faire l'hélicoptère tout en chantant la Marseillaise. Nous souhaitons nous poser le plus rapidement possible afin de pouvoir débarquer le passager. So let's have a little look at a possible translation of this scenario, bearing in mind that when we translate, we don't translate just the words, we translate the ideas which allow us to transmit the message that we want the person to understand. So, we have an inebriated passenger on board the aircraft. This is a male in his 40s wearing a lycra catsuit. Just before takeoff, he decided to drink an entire bottle of Ricard. He is now standing on the cabin crew's fold-down seats, windmilling his tackle and singing the French national anthem. We would like to land as quickly as possible in order to offload this passenger. Okay, let's have a look at official translation exercise text number 2. Nous avons dû remettre les gaz car au moment de l'arrondi, le manche du copilote s'est complètement détaché. Heureusement, le commandant de bord a pu reprendre la main et nous avons pu nous poser en sécurité. Une fois au sol, il s'est avéré qu'un furet s'était caché en place droite sous les palonniers du copilote et que ce dernier avait rongé une partie des commandes de vol. Il semblerait que cet animal ait été attiré par le tartare de saumon consommé par le copilote quelques heures avant l'atterrissage à Roissy. Okay, so let's have a look at the translation of this second official text. So, we had to go around because around about the time of the flare, the co-pilot's stick came clean off. Thankfully, the captain was able to take control and we were able to land safely. Once we were on the ground, we realised that a ferret had hidden itself on the co-pilot's side, underneath the first officer's rudder pedals, and that this animal had nibbled away at part of the flight controls. It would appear that the animal was attracted to the salmon tartare eaten by the first officer just a few hours before landing in Roissy. So here we have a good example of how translation exercises, such as those found in the DGAC's own ELP exam, can help you to work on particular vocabulary. So, very good exercise. When you've got a bit of time, invent a 3 or 4 line text with the most far-fetched story imaginable. Think about the most improbable thing that could happen to you in flight. The more improbable, the better. And think about, if one day you had to say this or something similar, think about how you would say it. The expressions you would use, the vocabulary you would need, and the tenses and the way in which you would construct the sentence so as to transmit the message as clearly as possible. In any case, thank you very much for watching this video. Safe flights to all, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Bye-bye.